Venezuelan Vice President Nicolas Maduro has announced the death of President Hugo Chavez in Caracas. In July 2000, he won a second presidential term and was re-elected in 2006 for the third term in office. President Chavez was one of the prominent Latin American leaders who worked for consolidating stability in their countries. Over nearly a decade and a half, President Chavez adopted a social policy based on enhancing the role of the state and its social responsibilities towards citizens, particularly in the domains of health, education, housing and combating big monopolies. Venezuela witnessed during his rule a remarkable progress in all walks of life. Chavez adopted a policy that rejected American hegemony. He stood by the Arab legitimate rights, notably his honorable stance towards the conspiracy against Syria, as he had repeatedly announced his solidarity with the Syrian leadership and people in the face of the heinous imperialistic assault against it. The Venezuelan government has declared national mourning in the country for 7 days for the death of President Chavez. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Elias Jawa said the body of the late president will be put on display starting today at the hall of the Military Academy in Caracas before his funeral takes place in a national ceremony next Friday. Most world leaders have praised the big role played by President Chavez over the past 15 years of his office as President of Venezuela and as a prominent leader of Latin America. In Cuba, where Chavez received medical treatment, the government announced mourning for 3 days upon his death. Russian President Vladimir Putin described Chavez as a prominent leader and intimate friend of Russia's, offering his condolences to the Venezuelan people over his death. Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad also offered his condolences over the death of Chavez, whom he marked as an outstanding figure in terms of struggle against world arrogance. He noted that the late president had spent his life in service of the oppressed and the harmed by the colonialist policies. On his part, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon eulogized Chavez, pointing out that he worked hard to respond to the challenges facing his country. Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff said Chavez's death was a big loss, for he was a great man in Latin America and his absence would leave a considerable vacancy in the continent's struggles. American President Barack Obama stressed his country's support of the Venezuelan people and its interest in establishing constructive relations with the next Venezuelan government. British Foreign Minister William Hague said President Chavez was influential inside his country and abroad. A number of prime ministers and foreign ministers offered their condolences on the death of Chavez, expressing solidarity with the Venezuelan people and praising Chavez's role in supporting the legitimate aspirations of the oppressed peoples in the world.